Hello and welcome to the Passionate Power Couples Summit. I am your host, LaToya J.R. And today we have a lovely young lady with us today. Her name is Ayelet. And I want her to introduce herself because she's I feel like a great spirit. And I want her to let you know who she is and what it is that she does.
Awesome. Thanks, LaToya, for having me on this summit. I'm super excited to share what I already love to do with everybody else who wants to learn how to have a powerful and passionate relationship. At the end of the day, I'm a firm believer, which is what got me to do this in the first place, that if you have healthy relationships, everything else in your life falls into place. Like the moment you're upset with your partner, nothing else in your life matters besides that. So that's how I got into it, me, myself, wanting to have a really blissful, connected, passionate relationship. So I started my coaching career, which has been over the course of the last 10 years. The first 5 was strictly relationship coaching. Now I've expanded since then, and now I just do general life coaching, but my niche was relationship counseling, relationship coaching for the first 5 years. I'm also the co-creator of Bliss Boot Camp, which is a global yoga meditation retreat. We have them in all these exotic locations. Our upcoming one is Tulum, Mexico. So aside from that, motivational speaking just kind of goes with everything else that I do. So without getting too much into the details, that's in me in a nutshell what I do.
I love it. You're not all over the place, but the things that you do, you're doing great. I love that.
Thanks.
So we're just going to jump right in. First question is, which area is paramount in staying connected to your spouse? Do you think mentally, spiritually, physically, or emotionally?
Great question. I would say that every problem, and I can speak from personal experience, right? Because that's the best experience. Every problem in your life, especially relationships, has a spiritual solution. So I think that all of your mental, emotional, physical disconnects that you have with your partner, so long as the spiritual connection is the foundation of everything that you do, then you can overcome any obstacle. It's always being in that space of possibility between you and your partner. When you're in that space of possibility, anything is possible, and you don't give up on that, then as a result, you won't give up on each other. And having a much deeper connection to something bigger than you or your partner is what brings that all together and makes the space of possibility a possibility.
Wow, I love that. Possibilities, I love that. Okay, so you said like the spirituality, just being connected to that. Does that mean like spirituality just within myself or to like a higher power that we share together? Which one? Because I know that for me, I have to be connected to God for me, and then myself, and then my husband. Because I feel like if I'm not at peace on the inside with him, and then at peace on the inside with me, I can't be the best partner or spouse that I can be for him.
Totally. So for me, it definitely is first and foremost a connection to my higher power. That comes first for me. And whenever I feel like that's slipping, like yesterday was my birthday, as you know.
Yes.
So I don't know if I should be sharing what I wished for, but I feel like when it involves God, you can't do any wrong, right? So one of my first wishes, and probably my most important wish, and I even went to bed with this intention to set the whole year up with this intention, is for God to be present in every moment of my life. And that whenever I'm slipping, for that presence to just consume me over in every moment of every day, for that connection to just get stronger and stronger and stronger, because I know that when that's there, everything else falls into place. Everything falls into place. So I definitely would, to answer your question, say, for me, it is a connection to my higher power. And I know that when I have that, no matter what goes on in my intimate relationship, if things hit the fan, I'm always protected. And everything always happens exactly the way it's supposed to happen.
I love it. I love it. Everything does happen for a reason, and it happens exactly the way it's supposed to happen. I love it. So My next question is, how do you keep a great connection with your spouse or reconnected if it's lost?
How do I keep a great connection with my spouse or reconnect it if it's lost?
Mm-hmm.
For me, I'm constantly reminding or asking myself, okay, who is leading the way?
Mm-hmm.
Is it my higher self or is it my lower self? My higher self is all about connection. My higher self kind of touches upon your last question. My higher self, it's not about so much, do I connect with myself first or my spouse first? When I connect to a higher power, I realize that the three are not separate. That my connection to God, my connection to myself, and my connection to my spouse are all one. And there's no separation between that entanglement. So when I feel a disconnect between my spouse and myself, I just have to remember or remind myself to let my higher self lead. My lower self is, okay, to explain to those who are watching who don't really understand what it means higher self versus lower self. For me, my lower self consists of ego, fear, self-doubt. When I'm consumed with fear, for example, like, and a lot of people might have a fear of commitment, right? Oh my God, I need to spend the rest of my life with the same human being. That can be a scary decision for a lot of people.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So for me to reestablish that connection and to allow fear, because I'm a firm believer that fear and love cannot coexist in the same environment. You're either in fear or you're either in love. You can't have both. So it's always checking in and saying, my higher self is love. My lower self is fear. Which one do I choose to lead the way in this given moment? The moment I choose my higher self, which is love, that connection happens on its own. So we reconnect through acknowledging. It's a simple intention. It's an awareness. Okay, I recognize that fear is here. I'm going to make that conscious intention to move that fear out of the way and let my higher self lead the way.
That is so great. I didn't call it the higher or lower self, but in my own situation, I feel like, say it's a conflict or an argument or something that we're having, the minute that I am like afraid that my feelings are going to get hurt or I'm in protective zone, I feel like that's all ego, and I don't react or act in the way that I truly want to. I'm not coming from a place of love. I'm coming from a place of fear. So that higherness that you were talking about, when I want to be the best wife that I can be, I want to be the best mother I can be, when I feel like I want to be who God created me to be, it completely takes me out of that fear zone. So you're right, it doesn't coexist together. I love that.
Yeah, totally. Totally.
Next question. Which strategies have you suggested or employed yourself to have long-lasting marriages?
So and it's very simple, but not easy to apply. It's simple, right? Like simple in the sense that we all know that in order to lose weight, the answer is simple. I need to go to the gym and cut my calories and eat better. But it doesn't mean that's easy, right? So to answer your question, the simple but not so easy solution all exists in this one sentence. It's, I give up my right to be right.
Ooh, I give up. I'm writing this down. My right to be right. Break that down for me.
So what do I mean by that? It's so many of the problems that we see in relationships and marriages is a result of I'm right, you're wrong. I'm controlling the situation because I can't be controlled. There's always some sort of payoff, right? I don't want to be controlled, so I'm going to control the situation. I don't want to feel dominated, so I'm going to dominate the situation. I don't want to be proven wrong, so I'm going to have to prove myself right. But it comes at a cost. That cost is a disconnect between people. So we have to ask ourselves, what's more important, the payoff or the cost? Is it more important for me to feel right and all like high and mighty, or is it more important for me to have love and connection and intimacy and really deep communication with my partner? When we realize that we're living in one of these two worlds at any given time, cost or payoff, then we automatically realize that what is a priority is what every human being wants, is to be loved and to love back, right? So when we realize that that's all that matters, then we start to give up our right to be right, which means even when you know you're right about something. No, you're right about something, right? Even when you know you're right about something, give up your right to be right. That will solve 99% of every relationship's problems. It's like, okay, I recognize where you're coming from. And it's you apologize. Like they say, forgiveness is not so much for the other person, it's for you. You know? So it's not the same thing as forgiveness, but in the sense that when I give up my right to be right, what ends up happening is I drop my ego, dropping this like disconnect, and I fall back into what I ultimately really want, which is love and connection. So giving up your right to be right can solve so many problems. I mean, I can literally name a bunch in my own personal relationship, right? Where it's like, I know you're wrong. I know I'm right, but I'm going to keep my mouth shut. I'm not even going to like pretend like, and you know, he's figured me out. So he knows when I'm doing it. Or I'm like,
okay.
Yeah. Okay. But we've both also just having, you know, so giving up your right to be right is one part of it. The other part is to listen, to really learn authentic listening, right? Because there's what the person is saying, and then there's all the meaning that you're attaching to what that person's saying. I find that with a lot of the women that I coach, they'll say, you know, this huge story, they'll create this huge drama that happened between them and their partner. And after they vent about their drama, I'll stop and I'll say, okay, now repeat to me verbatim what he said. Repeat to me verbatim, word for word, what he actually said. And I'll notice that 99% of what they said is meaning that they attached to words. He never even said 99% of the story they've created in their head. And I know in my personal life, that's happened before where, you know, a guy will shoot me a text message and I'll totally see words that were never there in the first place. And they'll be like, they will text me back and be like, Ayelet, reread what I just said. And I'll reread it. I don't even know how I saw what I saw in the first place. Like our mind makes stuff up. So really deep, authentic listening and really asking the person, what do you mean by that? Rather than like reacting right away. Take a few breaths and really understand what your partner means before jumping to conclusions.
I love that. I did like this. It's really weird. This exercise that I seen like online with my husband. So he would say something and then I would have to say back, what I hear you're saying is, and you're right, like 9 times out of 10, what he said is not what I heard. So becoming an authentic listener is like a skill that you have to like cultivate, because I think it's like your old garbage or things that's in your head that you're creating. And even him, he does the same exact thing. So I feel like learning how to listen to your partner is really, really, really great. I love that.
Totally.
My favorite question. Why is sex and intimacy so important in a happy marriage?
So one thing that I've experienced, right, is that during intimacy, you reach these higher states of consciousness that you can't really or don't really reach unless you're sitting on a mountain somewhere in the Himalayas doing hours and hours and hours of meditation.
Wow.
You know? So
that's an equivalent. I like that.
Yeah. Well, they say that during an orgasmic peak, that's the best time to set an intention or to manifest a desire, because there's none of that incomplete mind chatter entering into those sacred moments, right? So 99% of the day, our mind is a chatterbox, constantly going on and on and on with or without our control of it. Right. And so it's during these peak moments where, I mean, simple fun fact, it's a statistic. The human mind thinks anywhere between 50,000 to 70,000 thoughts per day. So that breaks down to about 47 thoughts per minute. That's almost 1 minute per second. One random disconnected thought per second. And they're not a connected stream of thoughts a lot of the time. A lot of the time it's like, what am I going to eat for lunch? I have to pay my bills. I need to walk my dog. I need to pick up Sammy from school. Whatever. They're not connected. So our mind is almost like a garbage can of disconnected chaos, right? So it's during these orgasmic states of higher consciousness that the mind is completely silent without us needing to do anything. So why, to answer your question, is intimacy so important in a relationship? It's because it kind of allows us to, between two people, bring us back to that place of God-centeredness, for lack of a better word, right? Higher states of consciousness. And it's bringing God into a union where it's like this trilogy, where the three of you come together and can create whatever you want in that moment. And it also, for me, intimacy is super, it is super important to create a sacred space for that, because it's so, and a time sometimes, you don't want to be too regimented where it's like, okay, it's 5 o'clock time for intimacy. No. But what you find with a lot of adults who have kids and have busy lives, which is almost everyone everyone has a busy life, right? They start to make everything else besides intimacy a priority. And they don't realize how that the intimacy is one of the strongest levels of connection that you can reach with another human being. So to constantly be reconnecting on a regular basis through the act of intimacy will make every other area of that relationship more spicy and more passionate and more connected. Yeah.
I love it. Yes. I completely agree with that. I spoke to another expert, and she was saying how a lot of times women, we think about so many different things. Like she said, she feels like men can get in the moment a lot quicker than women can. And I was like, are you sure? And her husband was like, yes, I can get in the moment. She's talking about she got to take a shower, talking about we got to pay a bill. And I was like, telling her, use your breath. I think her Davy Ward, I already interviewed her. And she was saying, like, just take a breath and breathe. And I was like, I don't think that's going to work. And I tried it, and I promise you that feeling that you get is just like the peace and center. It is kind of equivalent to the orgasm type situation.
Totally. I mean, there's a practice called Tantra. I don't know if you're familiar with
that's
Tantra.
What she is.
I mean, that's a whole nother interview, is how to make intimacy 50,000 times more powerful than what people think. Like, I don't need intimacy advice, I'm good. But then they start studying how to be intimate, and they realize there's a whole territory that they've never even realized was possible. And so, yeah, you're right. Ultimately, it does take women longer to get into that state. But it's because, like, women are more internal, men are more external. And so to open us up from the inside out requires a lot more warm-up than it does for men, who they're like, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, I'm good. I don't want to generalize, not all men. But.
Not all men, but yeah, I love that. I do feel like a lot of married couples should know that, and we don't. That's a whole nother area that you should be focusing on. It's just like, I get married, and what do you like, or what do I like? What can we grow and learn together is some next level stuff. So that is a whole nother interview, but I definitely think that married people should know that. The next question is, what is the number one thing, and you've worked with a lot of couples, so what is the number one thing stopping couples from having happy marriages, long-lasting marriages?
The number one thing stopping couples from having long-lasting marriages is something that, I touched on a little while ago. It's needing to be right. Needing to be right. I mean, that really, it sounds so common sense to many of us, but we don't apply it. We don't apply it. It's like we're constantly trying to prove our spouse wrong to make ourselves right. Ultimately, I think that there should be like a school, a relationship school, where before people get married, it's like a required curriculum almost. I mean, I'm joking, but not at the
I
same
really think so too. Yes.
because the one thing that's preventing long-lasting relationships is bringing our past into our present, and it's affecting our future. You know, when we can leave our past in the past and really leave our past in the past, which is something that I work on with people over the course of months. It's not easy. It's not easy, but it's a process called completion. And what we do is we complete with the past, because what we don't realize we're doing, and a lot of people are not conscious that they even do this, but we all do it. We all do it. None of us are exempt from doing this. As long as you're a human being, you have past experiences, right? So what ends up happening is, you know, okay, Bob cheated on me when I was 15 years old. Okay, and he broke my heart when I was 15 years old. So what ends up happening now, as I get older and I'm in my later 20s, I'm in my 30s, I'm in my 40s, I'm bringing Bob into my current relationships. And that constant fear of you're going to cheat on me starts to creep its ugly head up. And we don't even realize that we want connection, but we're so afraid of being hurt that we're building this protective wall that creates more disconnect between partners than it does connection. So when we can learn how to leave our past where it belongs in the past and not start to see every future partner, and this goes for men and women alike, not see every partner that we have moving forward as that Bob, right? Which is what we do. It's a different archetype of the same guy in our minds, right? So it's two things. It's give up your right to be right. I'll go back to it again and again and again because it's super important. That will create a long-lasting, loving relationship. And leaving the past in the past and not bringing that baggage with you into your future relationships will also create long-lasting, loving relationships.
I love that. When you keep saying that, give up the right to be right, what keeps popping in my head is we're not on different teams. I think when you argue with your spouse and you're like, you're on your side, I'm on my side, then that becomes like a conflict. But when we're fighting for our relationship together, I feel like it becomes more of a healthier communication. Because if I'm right, you're right, it doesn't matter. But if we're on the same side saying either one of us can be right or wrong, but how can we move forward? I think it becomes like a way better conversation.
That's so true. Like making your need to be right or wrong irrelevant. That doesn't even matter. Yeah.
How can we go on to the next? How can we resolve it? I love it.
Yeah.
So my last question is, do you think you need a vision to create a unique and extraordinary marriage?
I think you need a vision to create anything you want in your life. I mean, like, I am all about vision setting. I mean, they did a study at Harvard University where they took 2 classes, both graduating the same year. And with one of the graduating classes, they had them write out their vision, their 5-year plan vision. The other study, they had them do absolutely nothing. 5 years, fast forward 5 years into the future, they got in touch with every single man and woman in this study to see the success rate. What ended up happening with group A versus group B, the ones that wrote their 5-year vision versus the ones that didn't. They found that 90-something%, I forget the exact statistic, but it was in the 90 percentile, was either they had already accomplished their 5-year vision, or they were really close and on that path, versus the other group that did nothing were still kind of hopping from job to job to job, hopping from relationship to relationship to relationship. So there's something incredibly powerful that happens not only to the subconscious mind, but it's almost like creating a contract with God, with the universe, that says, if I'm creating a future, he's like co-creating with you.
Yes.
And so it tells God, like, this person knows what they want. They mean business. So you start co-creating that vision together. Without creating a vision, you're kind of just letting life happen to you rather than being a creator of your own life.
Well, I love that. I love it. And I love that you said they wrote it down, because sometimes I've talked to certain people like, oh, we've had conversations about what we want, but they never sit down and actually write it out. The writing out part, I feel like, makes it more of a commitment, and you see it and you know it, and it's an intention that you kind of set out into the universe. And God is like, okay, I see what you're doing. I'm going to put this in your path. I do feel that way. I'd love that. So you have a free gift.
I do.
Tell everybody about it.
So it's based on one of the books that I've written. So I've taken the best out of the book and I've compacted 7 steps to having a powerful and passionate relationship or marriage. So it takes all of my work and puts it into a document for everyone to have. And then for those who also get that package, they'll receive weekly videos in their mailbox totally for free, just kind of little snippets of inspiration and tips on how to keep your relationship passionate and connected. Because it's like you can listen to this interview once, get a boost of inspiration, and never do anything about it. So constant repetition is key. So that's why I create these weekly videos for people so that they're constantly staying connected to this type of inspirational work. And then as a result, they have happy relationships.
I love that. It's like working out. You can't do it one time. You have to keep doing it. And I feel like in your marriage, people don't know, or nobody ever tells you that it's a continuous thing that you have to work on. So the fact that you guys are gonna get like videos, get the free offer and definitely get her videos, because you want to stay in the know and you want to keep that passion and connection growing between you and your spouse.
Totally.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate
it. Thanks, LaToya. Thank you.